Welcome, everyone, to episode 150 of Between the Slicks, coming to you live here on this Thursday night. Do not adjust your screens. No, do not. The Inside the NHRA crew is here tonight, filling in for Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer. I'm your host, Darren Williams Jr., along with another DW, Dave W. right there. How's it going, Dave?
It's going good, yeah. Celebrating the 150th episode by taking over his show. So what an epic way to count that one down. And yeah, we're going to take over for tonight. And Lee is on the ground in Pomona covering, I believe, alcohol qualifying is going on right now, is it not?
Yes, it is. Qualifying session number 1, obviously Lucas Oil Sportsman Series in action here today, but the Camping World Series kicks off tomorrow afternoon with 2 qualifying sessions. And Dave, you already know, I mean, an epic championship battle in both of our Nitro categories. And I'm excited to see how it all plays out because it's going to be a very exciting weekend out at In-N-Out Burger Pomona Drag Strip.
Yeah, for sure it is. And the question that I had posed earlier and don't have an answer to just yet, but one that may come into play over this weekend is how do the tiebreakers play out? Because with as close as they are in every category, every Nitro category, I should say, there's a very real possibility that if the contenders end up making enough points in qualifying to add or subtract a round and going out in the same round, you could have some ties for positions. And it's going to be interesting to see how it plays out, but it's all that close.
And for people who don't know, this race here in Pomona, just like the U.S. Nationals, it's points and a half. So it's not just the regular 20 points per round. It's actually 30 points per round. And obviously with extra points in qualifying as well. So not 3 points for low ET of each qualifying session, but 4 points for low ET of each qualifying session. Second best gets 3 points. Third best gets 2 points. And fourth best actually gets a 1 point in each of these sessions. Monday Morning Racer, who's actually, like we said, at the racetrack, he says, I have found a Starbucks. So he should be coming on soon in just a little bit. But thank you guys all for tuning in to episode 150 of Between the Slicks. And like Dave W. said, we're taking over for Lee Craft, who's out the racetrack covering Lucas Oil Sportsman Series and the alcohol classes. He's done great coverage for the alcohol classes here in 2023. But we're here to break down all the action in the Camper Road Series because, like I said, it's some big-time epic championship battles in both of our Nitro categories, which kicks off tomorrow afternoon at iconic, newly renamed In-N-Out Burger Pomona Drag Strip in the In-N-Out Burger World Finals. So we're going to take a quick break here, a word from our sponsors, and when we come back, we're going to break down, I think we should go first, Top Fuel Eliminator.
If you own a beautiful modern muscle car like this 1320 Challenger, I'm sure you don't want it stolen. Because the Challenger and many other modern vehicles have an easily accessible neutral release strap. That was your coin holder in your central console, and beneath that there's this red cord that someone can pop, put it in the neutral, and potentially easily steal your car. But at destroyer1320.com they have the TDS, Theft Deterrent System, which is a cover over that strap using factory mounting points so that you don't get popped by a thief. So make sure to go to destroyer1320.com using promo code MMR for 15% off and get your Theft Deterrent System TDS and steal the thieves' hope.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 150 of Between the Slicks, here streaming live on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube and Facebook channels. Also streaming live on competitionplus.com and the Drag Racing Connection. Funny comment right here from Drag Racing Mayhem. He says, is this the wrong show? No, it's not the wrong show, but it's the Inside the NHRA crew here on Between the Slicks. And like I said, Lee Craft will be here in just a second. Also want to give a big shout out to Scott Purley with the $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Scott. Appreciate all the support on all of our shows, whether it's Between the Slicks, Competition Plus Power Hour, and Inside the NHRA. And Doug Corey says, happy birthday, Darren. I appreciate that, Doug. Appreciate that. Really do. So Dave, let's get right into it with Top Fuel Dragster in this epic battle. It's a 3-horse race between Steve Torrence, points leader, Doug Kalitta, and Leah Pruitt. But there's 2 guys on the edge, Mike Salinas and Justin Ashley, who can make this thing very interesting. Let's start off with those 2 guys first. Your realistic chances of those guys' chances going into Sunday.
Well, the hard part is they're kind of in no man's land, really, because Mike Salinas is 76 points out of the lead, which means he would have to gain 17 qualifying points to get himself to be within another, to pick up a round and to gain one. So realistically, the contenders are going to have to go out early. Leah's got the best chance of picking up a round, obviously, as you got displayed there. Justin Ashley is in worst case because depending on Steve Torrance's qualifying performance, he could actually get bumped to plus 90 and actually lose a round of racing to the leader. So qualifying is very, very important, how it's going to play out, more for Justin than Mike. I don't really think it's going to matter in Mike's situation either way. I don't think he's pretty much right dead set in the middle, and he's not going to advance or lose enough one way or the other. So their only hopes are Steve, Doug, and Leah are gone early, first round, second round, and they go out there and they win the race. So best case scenario, and we've seen it happen before, not through really any lack of performance. It's just how tight the top fuel field is lately. And we saw in Vegas, I believe going into the last session, there were eight or nine cars between 370 and 371. So we're talking thousandths of an inch can change your qualifying position. And more importantly, for this particular event, change your spot on the ladder. So best case scenario, Justin Ashley, Mike Salinas, if they're not up top, they're kind of somewhere mid-pack to where they get a chance to race one of the top three in the second round, and then they can control their own destiny. So qualifying is going to be important for them, not for position points, not for session points, but for where the ladder falls. And it's going to be hard to manipulate, like I say, with as close as top fuel has been lately. But as far as those two guys, that's their only hope, is they either the other guys have bad luck or the ladder falls in their favor, that they can control their own destiny and get one of them in the second round.
No, for sure. And I go back to 2012, and I remember this vividly, sitting in the stands with the great Bob Fry on the PA system with Larry Dixon. Obviously, that big-time championship battle between Antron Brown, Spencer Massey, and Tony Schumacher. And going into the final qualifying session, Spencer Massey was actually matched up with Antron Brown. And Bob Fry basically said on the starting line, he was like, shut it off. Don't even try to improve, because I believe Spencer was like 4 rounds back or 3 rounds back or something like that. It's like, you're not going to win the championship meeting them in the final. So if you can get them early, might as well just shut it off. And Larry Dixon's like, but you don't know what Torrence is going to do in another lane. But that just came to mind right there. It's like, yes, if you're this many points back, your only hope is to try to get these guys out early and basically, see where the chips fall where they may. But like you said, for Justin Ashley and for Mike Salinas, for Justin Ashley, 82 points back, if he wants any shot at this championship, whether the top contenders do go out early, he cannot let that lead or that deficit get over 90 points going into final eliminations. He can't. So, like you said, it's about the matchups, but also I think he needs to go out there and try to at least, keep hold with the rest of the field so he doesn't actually lose ground going into final eliminations.
Yeah, for sure. And I think 2005, the epic three-way funny car battle that you did a video on comes to mind too. Going into the last session, I believe all three contenders were going to be on the same side of the ladder, and they ended up moving around. Force moved up, positions all changed, and we saw how that one played out. But yeah, sometimes you can play the ladder to your favor, and sometimes you just got to go for it because and let the cards fall where they may.
Mm-hmm. So let's now get into the triple threat match, the top three contenders going into this weekend's epic battle in Top Fuel Eliminator. And let's start off with, actually, let's not do that. Let's start off with all three, because surprisingly, all three drivers at the last race in Las Vegas lost on hole shots. Leah Pruitt lost on a hole shot in round number 1. Doug Kalitta lost on a hole shot in round number 2. And Steve Torrence lost on a hole shot in the semifinals. You think that may be on their minds with all the pressure going on this weekend? That may be in their minds coming into this race here this weekend?
If it is, it shouldn't be, because that's a surefire way to have it happen again.
Exactly.
You can't, if you're going to have something in mind and losing on a hole shot, I mean, as you go through and look at the countdown races, because those are really what matter, you can pinpoint any head-to-head matchups between Doug Kalitta, Leah Pruitt, Doug Kalitta, Steve Torrence, and Justin Ashley in that mix too, and Mike Salinas for that matter, where those rounds of racing, had they gone any other way, could have completely screwed the whole point situation up from where it is now. And since that didn't happen, you can't, those can't change. The whole shot losses can't change. You just got to bring your A game and focus on what's in front of you, not what's behind you and what could have been, because you can't go back and change it. The whole shot losses at Vegas were not the only opportunities. I mean, you can go back to even Dallas. Leah Pruitt ended up winning the race there over Steve Torrence in the final round. That could have went Torrence's way. Leah would be further back out of the picture. Steve would have a better stranglehold. I mean, there's a lot of stuff as you go back. Leah and Doug racing prior to that at Dallas, even in round 2, that really could have put Leah a lot further back because she wouldn't have won the race, and Doug would have been out, another 20, 30, 40 points, depending on how many rounds he went there. So keep your eye on the prize, go out there, hit the tree, run the number, keep it in the groove. And for Leah, she's really the only one that's got to worry about qualifying, because she's got to pick up those 4 or 5 points to get herself into the quote unquote triple threat match. Because right now she's still a round out. So she really needs those points more so than anything. So Leah is really, her weekend starts, well, tomorrow, basically, because you got to start picking up those little points.
Mm-hmm. And you talk about Leah Pruitt has pretty much driven everything under the sun. When you talk about Nitro Car, starting off with Dope Racing back in the day, then Bob Vandergriff Racing, Don Schumacher Racing, and now with Tony Stewart Racing. Leah Pruitt, the hometown favorite. She grew up in Southern California. She's talked about it a lot, how she used to sit in those grandstands out at, Pomona, In-N-Out Burger, Pomona Drag Strip. It's had so many names over the years. Pomona Raceway, Auto Club Raceway, Pomona, but now In-N-Out Burger, Pomona Drag Strip. She sat in those stands. She's grown up going to this racetrack. How cool would it be, and how epic of will it be for in NHRA if Leah Pruitt can pull off this championship and win it for Tony Stewart Racing?
Oh yeah, for sure. It would be epic. And like you say, the hometown crowd, it's all there. She, I believe, I don't know if she won the championship or just she raced Nostalgia Nitro Funny Car too, back even before the big show rides, not too far away at Bakersfield. I mean, it's got funny car lineage. I mean, she's driven pretty much everything with Nitro in it. So it would be huge for her to do in front of the hometown crowd. Like you say, Southern California, that is the setting for her, and pretty epic for a potential one leg of a Tony Stewart Nitro Championship double up. Which would be pretty huge for that team as well. So a lot of storylines revolving around Leah. First championship. I mean, she's been out here for a long, long time doing this, 10 plus years in competition. Actually, I think closer to 20 at this point. And hard to bet against her desire and drive to get out there and do it. Probably matched. Well, I guess I shouldn't say that, because Doug and Steve are hungry too. They want the championships, but when you go for that first one and you're that close to it, you don't want to walk away a loser.
No, for sure. I definitely do agree with that. And like we said, the job for Leah and crew chief Neil Strasbaugh is to get that lead from 34 to under 30, somewhere around 29, 28, to give themselves a better shot at winning that championship on Sunday. Because like I said, 30 points per round. So if they can get that lead under 30, they'll put themselves in a lot better position going into final eliminations. And let's now talk about Doug Kalitta, who's been doing this for almost 30 years now. He's been trying to win a championship since 1997. He's come up short a few times, has runner-up in the championship quite a few times throughout his career. A lot of times we're talking about, when's Doug going to win Indy? When's Doug going to win Indy? Well, he finally won Indy. Now the talk is, when is Doug going to win a championship? And so what's funny about this is that Doug Kalitta lost the championship on November 12th, 2006, due to the run by Tony Schumacher. 17 years later, he now has a chance to win the championship on November 12th, 2023, 17 years later. How cool is that?
That is pretty awesome. That is pretty awesome for sure. Never know how things might play out in the future. I mean, 17 years, that's hard to believe it's been 17 years since the run, to be honest.
Exactly.
With you, for as epic as that showdown was and that battle was. But I mean, I don't know that anybody that's out there isn't pulling for Doug. Even if you have a favorite, you still kind of in the back of your mind, kind of like when Caps was, he's been out here for so long. He's won everything else there is to win. That's all he's got left to, the only last box left to tick on the resume is a world championship. And to have basically the crew chief that took it away from you all those years ago, now on your side, that's got to be an epic confidence booster for a man.
Yeah. And, the Mystic has a great comment. He says, how's the weather? So pulling up this comment right here. So it's going to be moderate Pomona. It won't be cool Pomona like we had last year. The Star Wars conditions we had last year. It's going to be kind of moderate in the low 80s. But we don't know. Sunset behind the mountains, Southern California is very chilly. So we could see some big time runs Friday night and Saturday night. Both those runs are scheduled for 4 p.m. in the afternoon. The sun will be setting around that time. And he mentioned the weather, and you mentioned the crew chief, Alan Johnson. Alan Johnson knows this track, In-N-Out Burger Pomona Drag Strip, like the back of his head. I'll tell you what, do you feel like Doug Kalitta has the advantage with AJ behind him?
I don't know if he's got the advantage if it's going to be hot on Sunday, but those Q2 and Q4 runs, I think, are solid points earning potential runs and possibly going to the number one spot because, again, we talked about the session points being changed. The actual qualifying position points are increased too. So you get 10 points for being number one here, as opposed to the standard 8. And then it tapers off from there. So extra points all the way around. Those two could be some pretty good moonshots for the Mac Tools team.
Like mentioned, Doug Kalitta comes into this race second in points, just 15 points out of the lead. Fell short of a championship in 2006. Fell short once again in 2019. Was kind of distant in 2020, but Doug Kalitta is looking to pick up his first world championship in Top Fuel Eliminator here this weekend. And how cool would it be, like I said, to win it on the day where he lost it 17 years ago, and with the crew chief that pretty much took it away from 17 years ago with the run. Let's now move on to our final member of this championship battle, the 4-time Camping World Top Field Champion of the World, Steve Torrence and those Capco boys. And so we all know about the story of Steve Torrence. Had that career year in 2017 where he came up just a little bit short on the final day of the season. The Brittany Force caught the point system, the welfare point system, talking about the countdown, but came back strong in 2018 and swept the countdown. Won 11 races that year, came back and won 9 races in 2019, won the championship again in 2020, came back with another 11-win season in 2021, lost the championship last year in 2022. And I think, the story around Steve Torrence this year has been consistency. Like I mentioned, all those wins throughout all those championship runs from 2018 to 2021, but only 1 win this season. But Steve Torrence, if he can be consistent, could probably win that championship alone based off consistency.
Yeah, he very well could. However, as we've talked about, this being a triple threat match, with as close as Doug is in points, this could be a must-win situation. So
that is true.
Even though they have consistently got to where they are and would still potentially need that to at least get themselves into a semifinal berth to pretty much, I wouldn't say assure it, but to give themselves the best chance and at least lock out some of the guys that are behind them and potentially Leah, depending on what happens in qualifying. If Kalitta matches them round for round, this could very quickly turn into a must-win situation. And I don't know if that puts added pressure on the crew chiefs, especially if it's going to be hot. You never know how the field plays out. They could be struggling on race day. They could be having a tiptoe. Every run's going to be important. We don't know how the lanes are going to play out yet. You need to get off the line first, but you got to be shallow enough that if you do turn on the wind light, you're quick enough to have lane choice for the next round in case that comes into play. I mean, there's a lot of things that are going to be on these guys' minds. So consistency got them to where they are. But in this situation, you've got to go for the throat like they did for the other 4 championships and take this one home.
Wouldn't it be kind of crazy? And I agree with everything you just said, but wouldn't it be crazy, like I mentioned, all those wins throughout that championship run from, like I said, from 2018 to 2021, if Steve Torrence wins a championship with just 1 win or 2 wins, that would be kind of crazy, right?
It would be. Oh, yeah, for sure. And, I mean, they could all go in and like we say, we build this all up. They could all go up and smoke and lose first round and it's over.
Exactly.
and that's it. Torrence is the champ and he's with a first round loss or a second round, maybe a first or a second round. You never know how it can play out. So I definitely would rather be in his shoes than anybody else's, because if that does happen, if the track bites everybody all at the same time, well, hey, you're the one out front. So you're going to be the one that they're handing out the trophy to for the 5th time, tying legendary Joe Amato as a 5-time NHRA Top Fuel World Champion.
Hey, and I said this would be crazy if Steve Torrence wins the championship with just 1 or 2 wins this season, if he's able to win on Sunday. But I mean, if you think about it, taking out Salinas and Justin Ashley, our Top Fuel Championship will not have more than 2 wins this season. I mean, well, at this point, because Leah's only won twice this year, Doug's won twice this year. So, I mean, all our championship contenders are kind of light on the wins here in 2023. Yeah,
which just goes to show you how it still does come down to consistency and how your countdown plays out. And again, it's interesting for me to look back and see, how the top 3 have fared versus each other at other countdown races, should it come down to that. And it very well could here on Sunday. And there's any number of times where, who would have thought going back to the first race of the countdown, the final round at Reading, how that could potentially have championship implications come the end of the year. Nobody saw it playing out the way that it did. But hey, as a fan, I'm glad that it did, because I'm really excited for this race and I can't wait to see how it plays out.
I definitely do agree with that. Let's talk about some other drivers in Top Fuel who can kind of throw a wrench in this whole deal. Starting off with Brittany Force, your reigning Top Fuel World Championship, who's going to actually take that one off the side of her car after this weekend. But Brittany Force has a lot on the line here this weekend, trying to avoid going winless here in 2023, I would say you have to watch out for that Monster Energy flavor pack car here this weekend.
Yeah, I think so. They could be running on mean, or they could already know that they're out and be running on test mode, and just it is what it is. Throw the kitchen sink at it and let's see what sticks, because we can't do any worse than we have all year anyway. So kind of a very unusual and unexpected season for that team. Did not expect them to fall as far down the standings as they did and struggle as much as they have, especially even early on in the year with the numbers and the big speeds that they were putting up and looking like, Brittany's got the top speed of the meet pretty much covered. And then after Topeka hasn't touched it since, hasn't been low ET, hasn't anything. So it's very surprising that they were performance-wise strong early in the year, but kind of fell apart towards the end in the countdown when they usually need to be picking it up. And like you mentioned, biggest surprise of all, potentially joining Eddie Hill, the first since Eddie Hill, to come through and be the reigning champion and go winless the next season.
Almost 20 years ago. What's crazy about that, right? Or is that 30 years? Is that 20 or 30? It's 20. 30. Yeah. Old age, I just turned 29, old age. I can't really do math that quickly.
Well, you should know, because that's when you were born.
I was born in 94. You're right. Well, technically I was born in November 94. So February 94 still wasn't around. So technically.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Yeah. So that was 30 years ago. Yes. So what you're saying is, though,
did rebound by winning the 1995 Winter Nationals. So even if Brittany does lose this year, look out, Pomona 2024.
That's what I was going to say. So since she goes winless this year, she'll basically just win the Winter Nationals next year, make up for it.
Or I guess the Gator Nationals start the year now. Never mind.
Gator Nationals. Yeah.
She's going to win Gainesville.
Yeah, the Gator Nationals. There you go. Well, she got her first win there, so I mean that'll be kind of poetic.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, there you go. So let's talk about a little bit about the Sarge, Tony Schumacher. And what's crazy is that we talk about the run. The run is obviously the greatest pass in NHRA history, but people forget that Tony Schumacher won the championship in the final round of the final race of the season 2 years in a row, and was very clutch because he beat Brandon Bernstein in the semis, which was, if Bernstein would have won that, he wouldn't have won the championship. And then he takes out Bob Vandergriff in the final round, and you see Hot Rod Fuller walk off in just dejection afterwards, just sheer dejection. So heartbreaking for Hot Rod Fuller. I wonder what Hot Rod Fuller's been up to. But Tony Schumacher coming to a track that he's had a lot of success at. Another driver, we talk about the greatest in the class, who can possibly go winless here in 2023. I'm pretty sure they would like to finish off the year on a high note.
There are a lot of guys that are in this field and in this entry list that would love nothing more to end this race with a win.
On a high note.
Yes. On a high note, with a win, with a Wally. Justin Ashley, he could do it, but even if, say, Doug and Leah and Steve made it all the way through to the semis, he still wouldn't be a champ at that point. So, but he still wants to go out there and win and go, hey, man, don't forget about me. I'm still out here. I mean, he had such a hot start to the beginning of the year. Tony Schumacher had kind of a hot start to the countdown. It seemed like if he didn't start so far behind in points, might have had a better run at it, but then unfortunately fell on hard times and is kind of out of the picture too. Austin Prock, quiet year for that guy. Didn't really expect that from him. Kind of expected him to be more of the story. Bound towards the bottom. Clay Milliken, down in 10th, got something to prove. Josh Hart, just an absolute dismal countdown. Josh Hart and Sean Langdon both. And, those guys, everybody that's in there that's not in championship contention, Antron Brown, they all have something to prove here this weekend, and this is their last chance to pick up a Wally for 2023.
Before we bring Leon real quick, I want to say this, and Lee, you could jump in on this too. I'll be honest with you. We talk about Justin Ashley a lot. I do not think it is over for him. And the reason why I say this is because it's a very real possibility that Torrence and Kalitta could go out early. And even, like I said, for him, he would need Leah to go out by the semis to win the championship. If you put Justin Ashley against Doug or Steve round 1 or round 2, I'm putting my money on Justin, honestly. Just with his reaction times and how good they run at Pomona, this championship is not out of the realm of possibility for that team. I know it's a long shot, but if it plays out the right way, I think they can win this. It's a long shot.
It's a very long shot, and it would have to be, if they're doing that, though, that's going to have to be one of the contenders struggling in qualifying, because if Justin is that far down and he's in the bottom half of the field and it's one of the contenders in the top half of the field, he's likely going into race day plus 90. So that's really going to put the pressure on at that point. So I don't disagree with you. I think that if he can somehow work the ladder, if say Steve Torrence struggles in qualifying and he's only 6th or 7th and Justin's only 10th or 11th in the show, and they get, they're close enough that they're a first round matchup, I would almost bet the farm that Justin's going to leave first.
That's what I'm saying.
And it's going to be an interesting race to the finish line, and just hope that Phillips Connect dragster does not go up in smoke by the 300-foot mark that they've been having trouble with.
No, and definitely, like I said, and the reason why I say I put my money on Justin is because that semifinal round in Las Vegas against Steve Torrence, how he really, he saved his season basically with that round. And we always, like you said, Justin Ashley for sure is going to leave first. And anything can happen. If Doug or Steve goes out second round, the door is wide open. The door is wide open. And so, like I said, if he can keep it under, like I say, it's a long shot, but if everything plays out right, he definitely has a chance. So, yeah, I'm saying it's not over whatsoever for Justin Ashley, I believe. But like I said, it's going to take a lot, though. It's going to take a lot.
Definitely. He's trying. He's trying to make it work.
Lee, you there?
Yes, I am here. Hopefully you all can hear me just fine, but interestingly enough, I can barely hear you two, so I don't know what's happening on my end.
Oh.
I mean, y'all sound like little mice.
We can hear you finally.
Like I could barely hear that. I don't know what is going on. I've never had that happen on my end. Very interesting.
Maybe you just got to turn up the volume on your earbuds. Or if something got turned down in the computer, who knows? I'm like Alan Reinhart with tech support. I fix computers.
Well, I'm on the mobile phone right now, and yeah, this has never happened. So I'm not sure what's going on, but y'all continue. You're doing a fine job without me. I'll try to get the technical issues resolved and pop back in or work it out right now.
All right,
we'll do it.
Then he's got to get on there and tell us about the surprise #1 qualifiers in the alcohol category.
Who is #1 qualifier, by the way? I haven't been paying attention. Who's #1?
Well, I don't want. Well, why we're going to take?
Wait.
Yeah,
We'll wait. Yeah, you're right. Let him get his stuff fixed.
He's doing a good job of it. Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah. I love the music in the background too. He's at a Starbucks.
That don't look like any Starbucks we got around here. They must have some fancy ones down in Southern California.
Oh, it's some fancy Starbucks out here.
I guess so. It's a
fancy Starbucks out here for sure. Real fancy Starbucks. See a lot of dogs in Starbucks. You see a lot of different stuff in Starbucks.
Dogs in Starbucks? I didn't. Yeah. I thought that the SoCal women were pretty, but I'll take your word for it.
All right. So before Lee comes back, we're gonna, I want to wait for him to break down Nitro Funny Car too. Let's jump into Pro Stock Car. And
that one's
obviously it's pretty much easy. Obviously Erica Enders with I believe 114-point lead or 112. I got it right here actually.
He just needs to earn 7 more than Greg. And it's hers on
114.
Saturday night.
Yes.
So, and you can pick up, controlling your own destiny, you can pick up 4 in each session, even if he's second. So you're halfway there. And if he's second in qualifying, that's 2 additional points difference. So she could almost kind of control her own destiny by sweeping the sessions and qualifying #1. She would only pick up 6 points on him. She needs 7. They'd go into race day 120 apart, but if she can just get that extra 1 point, just get Greg, 3rd, 4th, or no session points, and her pick up, a couple of them. So that's why, again, Friday could be pretty epic too, because if Greg doesn't get any points and Erica picks up 8, and they stay that way through the rest of the weekend, game over. Give her the trophy and the check on Saturday night.
And honestly, in my opinion, I think that realistically happens. Just knowing how well she's done in qualifying throughout the countdown, I think she does outpoint Greg in qualifying, and I think she does wrap this thing up in qualifying, and she has the trophy on Saturday night. I believe that's how it plays out. Just my opinion.
100%. And then basically, as you had on the standing lists brought up there, it's just everybody's fighting for whatever's left at that point.
Lee, can you hear us now?
Wait just 1 minute. No, Erica's going to win this thing.
So you can hear us now. You can't hear us.
Yes, interestingly enough, for anyone out there that uses StreamYard, or you have the thought that you may use StreamYard, you can do it on your mobile phone. It's a great tool, even on the mobile phone, whether you're in control of the show or not. But interestingly enough, you cannot adjust the setting for the volume on your phone while in studio or on show. I actually had to went to YouTube, turned up the volume all the way, come back, and I hear y'all fine. Imagine that.
There you
Perfect. Hey,
There you go.
problem solved.
So we just broke down Top Fuel earlier, and we just did Pro Stock a little bit. But you were actually at the racetrack here today. You didn't go to the racetrack.
Well, that was my plan. That was what I intended to do, but I decided, as you all know, I love my traveling and I get my sightseeing in. I decided to take Highway 1 in California from Monterey down the coast, and 20 miles in from Monterey, there was a road sign, a blinking road sign that said road closed in 20 miles, no detour. Well, there was nowhere to turn off. So I decided to go all the way down as far as I could. There was nowhere to turn off there, turned back around and had to drive all the way back to Monterey, 50 miles, and then cut over into the Salinas Valley. And I am now in Pablo Robles, I think is how you pronounce it possibly. In the Salinas Valley, still probably about 3.5 hours away from Pomona, California. So sadly did not make Q1 of alcohol, but there's plenty of content to be formed concerning tomorrow and its action and rolling on into Saturday and Sunday as well. So one day late to the In-N-Out Burger drag strip at Pomona for the In-N-Out Burger NHRA finals.
Well, with that being the case, then I guess we will spoil it. Current number 1 qualifier and top alcohol dragster Taylor Vetter with a 5:19.279 has her number 1 spot after one session. Tony Stewart second, Angel Sampey third, Julie Natus in fourth. Matt Cummings rounding out the top 5. Now, the big surprise is we've got 24 top alcohol dragsters here. Currently on the DNQ list side of things, Jackie Frick, Madison Payne, Chris Demke, Kirk Wolf, and Sean Cowie. Now, we're only 5 cars away from a record top alcohol dragster bump spot, and with those guys outside the field looking in, I'm thinking it's going to definitely happen this weekend.
Yes, I would have to agree. You look at those cars who you just named, Jackie Frick, they probably went in those conditions and just threw down. They have got that car running right. John Fink, car owner and tuner, he said to me in Las Vegas over the regional event, the motor is happy. It's all in the bell housing now. So when they have that figured out, and I'm sure they're going to figure it out for the next rounds of qualifying coming up, you're going to see them go into the field. We know that Copeland car with Dean Dublin and Kirk Wolf, it performs well. They will get well into the field. Demke, interesting conversation that me and Darren had with him for the Nevada Nationals. He realizes where he is in the sport right now, that he's not quite where he was as a competitor, but he still loves coming out, having fun, and can show up and show out on occasion. He might be that one, though, that stays outside the field possibly.
Well, that would be a surprise considering his pedigree here and his win record at In-N-Out Burger Auto Club Pomona Raceway, whatever the hell it is now.
Fairplex. Yeah.
Fairplex at Pomona. Yep.
Yeah.
LA County Fairplex, whatever you want to call it. The current bump, Eric Chesley, is 5:39.7 is the current bump spot. You've only got to go up to Hunter Green in 11th at 5:33.5. That's going to be your record spot right there. So if those 4 or 5 positions can change out, currently in the field too, shout out to Krista Baldwin in Top Alcohol Dragster. She is currently 5:33.1. It's got her in 10th.
Good to hear.
As we can see how this plays out when you've got that many quality cars, and this is why I always absolutely love when you have a big car count. That's when you have the chance for this to happen, because it brings out the best in everybody and the surprises in everybody, and it really stacks the field. So 24 cars, 16 spots. It's going to be epic just for qualifying in this particular class.
Where's hometown player Madison Payne qualified at right now after one session?
She is 18th with a 5:46 at only 236 mile an hour.
Right. Okay. Tell you what, they need to have a good weekend. They had a rough weekend in regional action. They did not make that show for the regional there at Las Vegas, and they need to have a good showing, especially it being a hometown and bounce back. Top Alcohol Dragster, the storylines just about all year, no matter what national event. has been who is going to make the field. And the fields have been so tough. I said last week it's going to take a 530 to make the field. Look at it, 530. Depending, it might even dip back in the 520s. You never know with the cars that you just named and who is out there depending on conditions. It is absolutely insane, the competition that we have out there right now in top alcohol dragster. From the blown guys like Sean Cowie, I mean, there's no parity issues. Look what they're doing. And then the injected nitro people, which are taking up majority of the class at this point. Someone asked an interesting question away from the show. And one, if they had clutch management, especially in the injected nitro cars, we would already have seen this by now. First 300 mile per hour pass for a top alcohol dragster. How far do you think we're from that?
I don't think you're ever going to see it.
Okay.
That is my thought, because they broke 280 20 plus years ago, and they've only gotten up to 285 since then. Just kind of like, when are you going to see the first 4-second top alcohol run? We took a long time to get to the 5.0s, and we've been close but haven't been back since. I think that the rules makers will kind of keep them toned down and back away from doing that. Especially because if you look at some of these cars, particularly in the blown alcohol side of things, with the single element wings, I mean, those things are up on the tire going through the finish line as it is. No downforce, they bounce through the shutdown area. I don't know that they want them going that fast. They're just, I think that NHRA regulates them from doing it. Now, me personally, I'd love to see it. I'd love to see, hey, you know what, we're the last quarter mile dragster class and quarter mile funny car class that are out there. Let them have it. Let them go 490s. Let them go 300. Let them put on a show. But I don't think that they'll let it happen.
I agree on the don't let it happen. I think certainly rules package. And I don't even think it's so much the NHRA. I think a lot of it is the competitors kind of imposing on themselves the situation of not encouraging the NHRA to come down and knock them, and they have to create a different package within their own package for performing so well. I think if you had the alcohol teams putting in the best clutches, discs that they could, each and every run, you'd see on nights and days when the conditions were just right, I think we would see in the 290s and get closer. I think if anyone gets there first, it would be an injected nitro car. It'd probably be Aaron Cooper. Somehow they figure out a way to be top speed routinely. If they were ever at a race and the conditions were the optimal and Aaron Cooper is there with his hot rod, they would probably be the first to do it. I do think blown methanol with the cubic inches that they're running now and the rules on the blower, the nature of that fuel, I don't think the blown methanol guys can get much more out of it. They are at the very limits right now. You go talk to the funny car competitors, and you're seeing recently more fires and more explosions. Now, when I say explosions, not anything like the Tim Wilkerson one, obviously, but kicking the rods out of these things and causing them to spark up. They have expressed they are just running them harder than they ever have been. Yes, we're seeing 30s out of them, my goodness, but nonetheless, they are being run harder than they ever have been.
And to that point, I see that our buddy Bobby Bennett's in the comments. He is definitely well-versed on IHRA history. I don't know if you guys remember, but at one point in time, IHRA allowed the A-Fuel dragster to compete in top fuel with clutch management and with all of those things. And I don't believe that they ever really qualified or were competitive, never got to the 4s, never got to 300 at that time. And this is 20 some years ago, if I'm not mistaken. Bobby might remember it. They were talking at the time. Bill Reichert said we can go 480s. Chess Bushy said 490s at 280. Jerry Darian said 480s were possible. I can't remember the one team that actually did compete, but there was somebody that did run an A-Fuel car with that setup in IHRA top fuel and was not successful. Unfortunately, they didn't run very long, but the possibility and option was there for somebody to do it.
And and for me, like I pretty much wanted to echo all of Dave's sentiments. I'm like, would NHRA allowed that? But then my next question will be to you, Lee, which you kind of answered, and Dave, you kind of answered was, well, if you kind of take all the rules out of it and let them kind of go all out and have at it like outlaw, like they did in NHRA, could they actually do it? And like you said, they pretty much didn't get any close. Like you said, Dave.
No, I don't believe so. And let's see here. There were 5 guys who have listed A-Fuel dragsters in NHRA Top Fuel. I did a quick Google search. Looks like Keith Stark went 531, and this is back in 2004, so this is 20 years ago. Ed Varenka 535, Mike Bowers 542, Carl McGee 562, and Bob Leverich 663.9, according to what I've been able to Google search as we're talking about this. So now remember, 530 that far ago was a pretty epic run for an A-Fuel car, but Gary Ormsby Jr. Had already gone 513 at Topeka. So they didn't approach NHRA numbers, but you didn't have necessarily the whole field and the best tuners and minds in the business doing it either. You put it out there and they let them try it, just like Scott Wise with A-Fuel or a fuel motor in his alcohol funny car. Back on the NHRA side, I think if the options were there and the guys took the time to do it, they probably could. But at the time, they weren't able to really run the numbers or be competitive.
And I just want to say, like, we mentioned Taylor Vedder, and I know it's only one session, but for her to be #1 qualifier right now, and remember, she's actually defending event champion as well. Got her first career win here last year when she had that amazing ride in the shutdown area afterwards. Yeah, and still won the race. So
hey, checkers or wreckers, baby. She got both.
You're right. Yeah, you're right. Right.
And I don't know if this. So she's #1 right now with a 519. I don't know if that's a career best territory for Taylor or not. First in the teens. I don't know how quick she's been before, but 519.8 is flying.
Yeah. She has been quicker. That car right now with Nick Janik, when they hit it, they're hitting it. But when they miss it, they are missing it. That thing right now tends to blow the tires right from the hit, or she goes 20s or teens. They're doing well with it when they do well.
And who's #1 in you got it,
sorry,
Dave.
go ahead, Darren.
No, you got it, Dave. You got it.
I was going to say, on the alcohol funny car side of things, only 12 cars took times, it looks like, for the first session. I don't know if that's how many are on the grounds. Brian Haug, #1, 543.5. Doug Gordon, 2, 544.8. Annie Whiteley, 544.8. Chris Marshall, 545.2. Shane Westerfield, 546.4. Jim Whiteley, 548.5. Top 6, all right, packed in there. Anybody's race at that point. Kind of a surprise to see Sean Bellemere. He did get a hold of the track. He's down in 11th with only a 981. So he's going to be right up in the mix too. But after one, Brian Haug, 543.5.
Again, they're running the guts out of them, and wow, look at that top 6. That is absolutely insane. They're certainly, most of the time this year at a national event, we have not had full fields for the floppers. If I remember correctly, there's only been 2 national events that have had full fields, if I remember correctly. It has not been many, but even though we don't have full fields, the fields that are there are insanely competitive, because it used to be, and we had this conversation, me and Darren, with Bob McCosh. It used to be you kind of used to look at the ladder and you could almost guarantee who was going to round 2 in top alcohol funny car, and you really can't do that today. You look at it, and people like Phil Eds, they have a car that can go win. He's won his first national event this year back at ZMAX. You have people that you cannot count out like Andy Bowl and Chip Beverett. You have people that are certainly regional in the sense that they don't really go out of their region, period, but they'll come to the national event that comes into their region, like a Kyle Smith, and can hang with the Sean Bellemeres, the Doug Gordons, that are on the national scene. Top alcohol funny car is wickedly competitive.
Yeah, and unfortunately, just to echo your sentiments, yeah, it looks like for what I have here, the U.S. Nationals was the only event this year to feature a full field of alcohol cars from what I can see. I don't know if I'm going through just to make sure on It doesn't even look like Dallas had a full field, even with the Jegs All-Stars as part of it. So
I think Norwalk was one shy of the national event, if I'm not wrong.
Norwalk this year had 14. So, yeah, you'd have to go back all the way to basically Indy and typically Fall Vegas. Fall Vegas last year had 18 cars. Indy in 2022 had 17 cars. But unfortunately, yeah, I'm not really sure what it is that really hinders that particular category. I know NHRA's opened up the rules. They're like, hey, you know what? Okay, put an A fuel motor in and go run it. Hey, you know what? If I'm not mistaken, I think they have. Didn't they allow the nostalgia bodies as well? They allowed them to run whatever body they want to run on them.
But nobody has done that. And
tried it.
You know, that was when that rule change came out. You can go back in the archives of Competition Plus Power Hour right here on between the slicks, and I said that's a joke, and it is. Yeah. It was, and that's not going to bring anybody into the class. That class is where it is right now because of sentiment, the way in which they have been treated. It's that simple. And you have many that are sore over how they've been treated in the NHRA. And I know that because I have talked to former competitors of NHRA Top Alcohol Funny Car Drag Racing, which is great, and I love the competition. But they don't want to run there anymore because they can go have fun, run their funny car at somewhere just like a Funny Car Chaos. I think one of the great examples of that is the 2022 Funny Car Chaos champion, Kirk Williams of Williams Brothers Racing. They have won regional titles. They have won regional races. They have competed well in national events. They might have even won one or two for all I know. But they no longer have any desire to go run NHRA races because they're going to spend so much money in entry fee. They got to run quarter mile, run the guts out of their stuff. And then no one comes and talks to them except this hack of a media dude that might show up every now and then and bum a room off the NHRA and a friend called Warren Evans called Lee Pratt.
and then you got to worry about session times getting bumped and everything like that, like we saw in Vegas.
They get jerked. They get jerked around. I mean, now look, I will say I did have a very honest and candid conversation with Chris Marshall's tuner, one of the Minor brothers. I can't remember his name now. I want to say one of the Minor brothers racing engines represented as guy tuning for Chris Marshall, Disturbed Racing. I'll move on. This is what he said. He's like, well, we got to be careful and not kid ourselves. We're not the main show. They're not. Because you got Nitro on the premises. That's the main show. And that does have to be kept in mind. Granted, one thing that he did mention with even acknowledging that is communication. What, in fact, are we doing? Do I need to be here at 8 a.m.? Or can I wait till 5 p.m. to show up and get my stuff ready because I'm running at 8 p.m. instead of 8 a.m.? Communication.
And it's a shame I don't have my full list of events complete on the Alcohol Funny Car side of things. That I'm working on filling them out. But even going through back as far as 10 plus years ago, even with a shortened schedule, shortened season for the alcohol cars, because if you remember, if you go back far enough, the alcohol cars were in competition at every national event. It didn't matter. They were part of the show.
Yep.
And they really struggled to fill fields then. But even in the shortened schedules, I mean, I'm going back 2010, 2011, 2009, and I'm not seeing complete years with full fields of cars. So this has been an ongoing problem for a long time. There's been at least 12 to 15 just drivers that keep rotating in and out. And it's a shame because back in the day, you know, that was when Frank Manzo was pretty much dominating and running roughshod on the field. So I could see that might detract from car count because, you know, you're running for second when Ace has got 500s on everybody and just goes out and has perfect seasons on the national and divisional level. But I feel like the competition has really, like we talked about just a moment ago, top six, you got the Whiteleys in there. Bellemere didn't even make it down the track, but, you know, he's going to be right in there. Chris Marshall. I mean, these guys They can all run the number now. They're all pretty close. We just need more of them. That's all.
Well, Stan makes a good point. He says top alcohol needs a benefactor like comp with Roger Brogdon, bringing in big money to the class. You think that'll be a definite help to the class, doing something like Roger Brogdon does?
Well, how about Roger getting some help? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
So, yes, I agree with what Stan is saying, that top alcohol needs that benefactor, needs that champion. And it definitely just doesn't need to be a media hack like me, but it needs someone with some money, because I certainly don't have it. And it needs to be someone like a Roger Brogdon. And I think there is a greater narrative here that could be played out, could be thought of or discussed, that maybe even bringing top alcohol, dragster, funny car, out from under the Lucas Oil Sportsman banner. Granted, I say that it could put them completely in no man's land and be in the same situation such as NHRA Pro Mod or Factory X or Factory Stock Showdown, and they have their own sponsor and their own situation that they are vying for themselves, and not just being clumped together with all the other classes such as Super Gas, Super Comp, Top Dragster, Top Sportsman. That might be beneficial to them. Has it been done that way ever? Well, no. It would be brand new. You'd have to have cooperation, I think, between the dragsters and the funny cars, not just one. You couldn't have, da-da-da sponsor Top Alcohol Funny Car, da-da-da sponsor Top Alcohol Dragster. It needs to be sponsor Top Alcohol situation for that to work, I think. And I don't know if the NHRA would ever want to see that happen. I think the NHRA likes alcohol where it is, in the understanding that it is still a sportsman class, technically. Are these professional teams? Yes, many of them in fact are. Go look at the Bartone Brothers racing operation. That is professional. Look at Randy Meyer Racing. That is professional. Look at McPhillips Racing. That is professional. And they have professional teams that have this rent-a-ride type of program and scenario. They're professionals. Not everyone, but you certainly have that in the class. Really no different than the Nitro ranks. Really no different than the Pro Stock ranks. No different than just about anywhere else in drag racing. You even see it in big money bracket racing, honestly. Nonetheless, having that benefactor would be good, but I think the benefactor eventually would be soured, and not because of the top alcohol competitors or teams, but the big entity.
Let me ask you this question, though.
If you remember, back in the late 90s, they were Federal Mogul Dragster and Federal Mogul Funny Car. They took the top alcohol name away, and they were sponsored specifically by Federal Mogul, even while under the rest of the categories were under the Winston banner. But I don't know how much more money that brought in for those particular classes. I think that the biggest problem is there's only too many, there's only so many seats at the table. All right. And there are just too, everybody wants to race the big show, but in my opinion, there's too many classes. Cut the classes you have, keep the ones that put people in the stands and pay them the money.
Yes, but I think we need to see an overhaul in the national events. I really do. I have said it many times. I think the system of the national event is outdated, and they're not serving what they were originally intended to, because you don't have everyone across the nation coming together to duke it out to see who's the top dog. We use the term national event as a carryover from what actually functionally did happen that way at one time. Everybody would show up to the Western meet and see who the best was, and the Eastern meet, the Central meet, blah, blah, blah. It's gone beyond that. So, I would like to see it worked out where the regional meets. And again, when I say regional, I do mean top alcohol, because on that side, it's divisional. We're talking about Super Comp, Super Gas, Top Dragster, Top Sportsman, so on. But when you say regional, you're talking about top alcohol. I would love to see the division directors And the track owners and operators, when they have a regional, put more emphasis on the regional, promote it, and get fans out to the track during those times of races. And it can be done. Bill Bader Jr. and Norwalk, they have a successful program around Top Alcohol.
Just going through some comments right here because people are making a lot of great points. Obviously, this is a different subject right here, but Andrew has a great comment I want to bring up. He says, the big concern is younger drivers don't seem as interested in running a funny car. Look at all the young talent in dragsters versus funny car. And it does seem like in today's day and age, you see a lot of the younger talent in injected nitro and top alcohol dragster and everything like that, and not really going to top alcohol funny car.
You know, the point on that, though, and Lee knows because he travels around with the circuit, and I know quite a few individuals who do have funny cars that race in the Funny Car Chaos Series. There are plenty of people out there that absolutely love funny cars and want nothing more than to drive a funny car, young and old. But the budget constraints that, you know, they go out there and they run those chaos races, you're not gonna tour the NHRA circuit,
right?
Like you are with that, and that's the unfortunate part. They're out there. You know, you just don't see them at the professional level, I guess you'd say, or the top level. They're happy to run the chaos. They're the stars of the show, and I don't know that it's the payout there is more viable for them, but I mean, there's plenty of racers out there who love the funny cars.
Absolutely true. There are plenty of people that I have encountered. I think of Casey Giesland. I think of the Neils. They finally get into Funny Car in Funny Car Chaos, and they feel like they have accomplished their drag racing dreams. That it has been their dream to race a funny car. So that is certainly out there for many competitors. You know, you do have Jade Cook. She is a young lady, 24, in fact, and out there in Funny Car Chaos and competing. And there are many other young characters in Chaos. To Dave's point, it's budget constraints. I'm sure if they had the budget, they would love to compete in NHRA Top Alcohol Funny Car from time to time. But yet, why do that when you have the treatment history? See, you've got compounding issues. It's not one. It's compounding issues in particular with Top Alcohol Funny Car. I'm going to throw this out there. We haven't thrown this one out there. Top Alcohol Funny Car does not have a rent-a-ride program in place like Top Alcohol Dragster. We may very well see that in the future with more injected nitro cars coming on the scene to prepare people to step into the nitro ranks of now the Camping World Series, what will be the Mission Foods Series. But Top Alcohol Funny Car traditionally may very well be the most challenging drag racing vehicle to drive, with swapping the feet and hitting the buttons. Granted, we may see rent-a-ride type of scenarios come about, even with blown methanol, with the two steps, and that combination coming on board and online. And I would say, one, there is an interest amongst young people for funny car. I know right now a crew member in the Nitro ranks, he's building a funny car, okay? And there is something about funny cars. It's definitely out there. But I think it also takes some time to build up to it to where you are a competitive individual in funny car. Most people aren't born ready to drive a funny car like Maddie Gordon. I mean, Maddie Gordon goes out there and licenses and runs in the 540s and then her license passes. It's absolutely insane. She looks like she'd been out there for years driving a Top Alcohol funny car. Mind you, with the clutch, swapping feet, and hitting the buttons, shifting it all the way down the track. So she is going to come out swinging, I think, certainly next year. And there you go. She's 19, turning 20 this year, turning 20 next year. She is definitely a great young talent for that class. She's an attractive young lady, very energetic when it comes to her interviews, and she also knows all the technical sides, mechanical sides to that car. Great person to have in that class and possibly carry it on into the next generations to come. You do have, as Robert has mentioned, Julie Natus drives both Yes, she's drove the Randy Meyer Funny Car and Funny Car Chaos competition, and she wants to get back in the Funny Car wherever Randy may place it, depending on how he uses it. Again, I think if there was a greater rent-a-car type of scenario for Top Alcohol Funny Car, you'd probably have more people stepping in the Funny Car. But what you got to do right now, it's not just getting a ride. It's you got to start a whole operation. And that is a different ballgame.
Like you mentioned, Robert says Doug Gordon's girls will be running at Funny Cars. Obviously, like you said, Maddie Gordon. He also mentions Christine Foster, who had that wild ride at Dallas a few weeks ago. And like you said, Julie Natis, who drives both Injected Nitro Funny Car in Chaos competition.
And look, let me say this. I think we have to be careful when anytime you start comparing classes and the females that are in them. One, we have more females competing in drag racing than just about any motorsport, period. But you still have, let me put it this way, you're always going to have less female drivers because in general, females are not as interested in driving and being a part of the sport. And I know I say that and that sounds incredibly sexist and misogynistic, but nonetheless, you have, that's just a reality. And I know in this gender fluid world, it's just a reality, folks, that's what people ladies tend to be interested in other things. It's just as simple.
Lee, you better calm down. You in California, bro, now. You can't be doing that. You in California. You got to calm down.
At a Starbucks, I do got to
calm down.
I do got
to calm down. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
Relax, bro. Relax. I'm kidding.
Just tell them you identify as they, them. You'll be fine. No problem.
They, them, yeah. Let's not go there. Let's not get into that. We already get canceled on the Competition Plus Power Hour. We don't want to get canceled here on Between the Slicks. So let's not go there. Let's not go there.
Where we should go though is a perfect segue from Top Alcohol Funny Car right into Nitro Funny Car, the other half of our Nitro Championship battle going into the In and Out World Finals.
And we'll do that right after the break.
Power-Built Tools exemplifies innovation in the tool industry. From hand tools, power tools, and even tool storage. Check out powerbuilt.com for Power-Built Tools. And remember, use promo code MMR15 for 15% off at purchase.
Welcome back, everybody, to episode 150 of Between the Slicks, streaming live here on Monday Morning Racer, YouTube, Facebook, Competition Plus, YouTube, and Facebook, and the Drag Racing Connection. Sorry if I missed anybody. We're streaming from a lot of places, but Darren Williams Jr., along with Dave W., and the man, the host, Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer. He's somewhere in the middle of Central California. He'll be on his way to Pomona in just a little bit, but like Dave W. just segued, a titanic, epic championship battle we have in Nitro Funny Car between points leader Matt Hagan, second place Bob Tasca, and third Robert Height, coming off that big time win in Las Vegas a few weeks ago. And let's start off with the third place man, Robert Height. He comes in just 17 points out of the lead, I believe. Let's take a look at the points right here as I bring them up. But Dave, me and Lee talked about it on Tuesday night. This is a story of redemption for not only Robert Height, but Jimmy Prock as well. That career year they had last year, 8 wins in 12 final rounds, but came up just short of the championship on the final day of the season, losing by just 3 points. I believe definitely they want to come back and get this thing done here 1 year later here at Pomona.
Yeah, I definitely feel like they definitely are going to be out there, and they know that this is – now, we talked about it kind of a little bit in Top Fuel. We had some outsiders. We had Leah trying to get in. This is your 100% triple threat match right there, all three within a round. You're not likely to make up or lose one in qualifying. I mean, it's possible. Don't get me wrong. Anything's possible. It could happen. It would be a stretch. But it could also be a stretch that way I'll go in 3 tied into race day 2. So how would that be for an epic showdown? But, yeah, they've got the most to prove. They got the knack for this track. They just got to go out there. Low ET of the last 6 years at the last national event. Darren alluded to it. A little bit of temperature here this weekend. Sunday might not be a good day to throw that down, but Friday night, Saturday night, under the lights, pick up those session points, go low, get your lane choice in the first round, get you the preferred spot on the ladder, get you a preferred pick of when you want to run, and let that AAA of Southern California, Chevrolet Camaro, do what it does best.
And so you mentioned, a little bit of heat here this weekend, and I want you to jump in real quickly, but we talk about it. We're not going to have cool Pomona this weekend, most likely not on Sunday as well. Do you think this plays into the hands of a Dickie Venables or a Jimmy Prock or Todd Okahara and Aaron Brooks? Who do you think this weather kind of plays hands into going into final eliminations on Sunday? I'll say Dickie, in my opinion. They've shown time and time again how they can run consistently in any type of weather, whether it's cool, moderate, hot. Just my opinion.
I will second that while at least thinking about it, because they have at least proven more so, even in good conditions, or when Tasca goes out there, put a little temperature in the track, they got a chance of puffing the tires. He's had some lucky rounds to get him through it. And Robert Heights had a couple of early losses because of 300-foot tire smoke. But, I mean, not saying that Hagan hasn't, but overall, big picture, they do better on the hotter tracks, it seems.
Well, if we were talking about this a few months ago, I would say actually it's Ron Capps with Guido, but they tanked somewhere. And I don't know what shifted in the program, or what thinking Guido started going with and trying this or trying. I don't know, but just all of a sudden it seemed to go awry for them. I would echo, I'll third the sentiment of Dickie having that ability. Granted, it's interesting. We look at Tasca, we look at Robert, we're talking about those two more often. I hear those two being talked about more often. And Matt has routinely gone into Pomona with a scenario the last several years. And again, as he mentioned there in St. Louis, he's hungrier than all the others. That's what he said. That was his words. He's hungrier than Ron Capps. He's hungrier than Robert High. He's hungrier than Bob Tasca. So it's just interesting. There's just as much of a redemption narrative there, I think, for Matt as there is for Robert.
Mm-hmm. I mean, you think about it, you say Matt too has come down to Sunday morning, with a chance at the championship. But I mentioned this on Tuesday, Robert as well. It seems like every year, whether it's Robert or Hagan, they are the ones waking up on Sunday morning with a chance at the championship. And that's no different here in 2023. The new guy is pretty much Bob Tasca. And Dave will remember this back in 2010 when Hagan and Tasca raced first round and Tasca burned down Hagan. With them now in the championship picture, I wonder if we can see some games 13 years later on the starting line at Pomona.
Why not? I think you're going to see it all come out. And look, we cannot wait to get through qualifying on this one. What are the ladders going to look like? What are the scenarios? When will they meet? Will we get some round one matchups because someone did so poorly in qualifying, or maybe they wanted to do poorly in qualifying and give a better chance and control their own destiny? You don't know. I love the point you made Tuesday night, Darren, and you brought it up to Robert, and then Robert's like, well, dang, kid, thanks. When you rattled off all of those championship hopeful years, and there was like 5 or 7 of them that he was in that talk. He was in that scenario waking up on Sunday morning in Pomona.
Oh, for sure.
I think the big question for me, because I'm sure that the ladder's going to play out just fine. Nobody's going to run each other early. You're going to have 3 of the 4 in the semis. Who's going to be the 4th?
DeJoria. I don't know why.
How about Worsham? He'd be a spoiler, wouldn't it?
Yeah, I was thinking of DeJoria. Maybe even Cruz. Maybe Cruz goes back to back and just lays it on him back to back years of Pomona. I don't know.
Oddly enough, I could see that. They have a knack for Pomona somehow.
Maybe old man Force makes it to the semis and goes into tank for Robert. Who knows?
Well, I was very clear Tuesday night that, I put it this way, Force getting a win in Pomona will be due to Robert having no more of a chance, or Robert has secured. That's it.
Right.
Yes, you're right about that. And Robert brings up a great point. He says Aaron Brooks is going to show what he can do. I think Bob Tasca wins the championship. So Robert's going with Bob Tasca and Aaron Brooks. And we mentioned, like you said, we talk about redemption. We talk about redemption with Hagan. We talked about redemption for Height. But for Todd Okahara, you mentioned this on Tuesday, Lee, for Todd Okahara and Aaron Brooks. Todd Okahara, that kind of dismal year last year with Schumacher that they had. And obviously, you know, Aaron Brooks, kind of a journeyman. He's been with, you know, Perdome back in the day. He's been with Alan Johnson. He's been with Schumacher. But, you know, now, you know, with him, you know, kind of obviously being a real journeyman these past couple of years, it'll be great to see Aaron Brooks and Todd Okahara pull one off, kind of like the odd couple of Nitro Funny Car crew chiefs here in 2023.
Right. I when the announcement was made that Todd Okahara and Aaron Brooks were going to be the duo over at Tasca, I think everyone about went, huh?
Mm-hmm.
But it's working, and apparently, you know, Aaron has expressed that Todd and Aaron, they've been wanting to work together and that they balance each other really well, and you can see the dividends because Bob Tasca, for the first time in his career that I can think of, that I can recall, he's a legitimate championship contender, and he's not just a summer fling.
And I've always taken it as like, and Todd Okahara he's always proven in Top Field that he can go out and run the big numbers, but I always felt him being more of a conservative, let's make the conservative pass, and Aaron Brooks being kind of like the home run hitter. And so to see those two kind of come together and now seeing the dividends of that, I think that's really cool to see. It's awesome. Two different approaches.
It is good. And again, I think for those crew chiefs, as I did mention on Tuesday night, for them, let us get Tasca his first ever championship and let us show the crew chief pool, the brain trust that makes up what NHRA drag racing and Nitro has to make it truly go. Let us remind everybody who we are, what we're capable of, and the commodities we are.
One forward.
Well, and as we're moving up from Height to look at Tasca next, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think that Bob has ever come into Pomona with a shot at a championship before.
I don't think so.
He has never been in a championship contention in the countdown. He's made the countdown before, but he's never advanced far enough into the countdown. He's always been out of the picture very early.
Right.
So really,
again, that's why I said summer fling. He's had great summers, and then it all fall apart.
I feel like for that team, the crew chiefs that they've got, the things that they have to prove, you go into this with zero pressure because you're technically the new guy. Hagan and Height are so focused on becoming the next four-time champion to join Kenny Bernstein and Dom Perdome that you sneak in there and steal it. You got nothing to lose. There's no pressure on you. This is your first time at it. Those guys have been here before and had their dreams crushed before. They've come out on top, but they've also felt the other way on it. Your first time in there, you don't know what to expect. So just throw it down and let the cards fall where they may. I think Tasca's got the least to lose and the most to gain out of these championship three.
And I know history doesn't really matter in these moments, but you talk about it. Bob Tasca won this race in 2021, and I know those are a totally different crew chief, but I'm sure they still have those notes. And if I go back to 2021, it was a pretty hot racetrack a few years ago during that day. So I think he has a legitimate shot going into Sunday.
I know this much. I think after this weekend, American Hot Rod Entertainment is going to have a fresh championship battle video worthy content piece right out of the box. This is going to be an epic one.
That's early American Hot Rod Entertainment right there. American Hot Rod Entertainment. Yes, way back in the day. Jesus.
And the last contender, Hulk Hagan, coming out there, just laying the smack down again, just like he started the year. We already kind of discussed. We feel like if the weather's hot, it kind of plays into a Dickie Venables type tune-up more than anything. I feel like, obviously, he's in the best situation because, just like we talked about in Top Fuel, y'all go out in the same round. Well, by default, I'm leading going in. I'm going to be leading going out. So I think the pressure's kind of off of him, too. So that could be a dangerous Matt Hagan. because he can go out there and cut some lights when he needs to as well.
But here's the thing, though, and I mentioned this on Tuesday night. Yes, if they all go out in the same round, Hagan's the champ. But literally every run on Sunday is do or die game 7 moment. And here's why. Say Tasker goes first in the round or Height goes first in the round and they win. Well, that automatically puts the pressure right back on Hagan because he has to win that round, even though he's the leader. So every round on Sunday is game 7, do or die. Like the pressure is going to be on right from the jump on Sunday. And you couldn't ask for a better scenario for us fans to see how it all plays out. I think that's amazing.
No,
it's going to be good.
Not a loser in any of those groups. In the Top Fuel group that we looked at, and in the Funny Car group that we looked at, I mean, made a best man win, but like Lee said, it's going to be an entertaining show, and definitely going to be one of those championship battle-worthy type scenarios.
Okay, so we keep saying it's going to be a great battle. Let's put us on the spot now. Top Fuel, Funny Car. Who wins the championship? Let's start with you, Lee. Who wins it? Both classes.
Fuel Funny Car, Robert Height.
Okay.
Top Fuel Eliminator, Doug Kalitta.
Okay, I like it. What about you, Dave? Let's do it. Gets it done. Sunday night at Pomona, who holds the trophy?
Is this who I want to win it, or who realistically is going to end up with this trophy?
Realistically.
I think realistically, man, I think Hagan's got it in Funny Car. I realistically think that they are they're going to go some rounds. They're going to hurt some feelings. Top Fuel is going to be an epic battle. And the other reason I threw out Hagan on there, don't forget they won the Winter Nationals on a hot track back here in April too. So they got the tune-up set up. Top Fuel wise, man, that is a tough one. That is a really, really tough one. I want to say Steve Torrence, but he's typically not closed the season out very well. And but Alan Johnson and Doug Kalitta on a hot racetrack aren't the greatest combination. So, man, you know what? It's going to be a Tony Stewart Nitro double up, Leah Pruitt, Matt Hagan, park one with the black side out, park one with the green side out, and you're going to have a double up, and they're both going to win the race to do it.
Okay. I like it. Is it my turn?
That's your turn.
Sunday night at Pomona in the championship winner circle in Nitro Funny Car, your champion will be none other than Robert Height. He gets it done 1 year after the heartbreak of being on the starting line and seeing Caps win that championship and being able to do nothing while he stands on that starting line. Robert Height gets his redemption. He becomes a 4-time world champion. And Dave, I did this last year and he came up short, but I'm going to say it this year again. Robert Height gets it done. And then in Top Fuel Eliminator, I was going to go with my man Steve Torrence, but like I said, 17 years ago, on November 12th, 2006, we saw the greatest pass in NHRA history by Tony Schumacher and ripped it out of the clutches of Doug Kalitta. 17 years later, on November 12th, 2023, Doug Kalitta finally, after 26 years, 1997, 2007, 26 years, picks up his first Top Fuel World Championship. Doug Kalitta and Robert Height will be our Nitro champions here in 2023.
His rookie year was 98, by the way.
98. There you go. 25 years.
I just want to say this. If Doug Kalitta wins the championship at whatever point it is, if Brian Loans or Alan Reinhart or whoever's talking in the moment doesn't give us a Mike Joy, Dale Earnhardt-esque style,
Yes.
20 years of frustration. Yeah. Yes. It's a layup. Call it.
Yes. I agree. No, I agree. Got to. And if they don't do it, we'll do it on Inside the NHRA. So, we got them.
There you go.
So we'll do it. You know, we're ready for it. We're ready for that layup.
It's going to be epic. Congratulations to whoever does it. I'm glad I'm not the one sitting in the race car trying to focus on doing it and cut a good light, keep it in a groove, and get down the track. I don't know on this particular situation, Darren. What time does it get dark out there? Can we see finals at dusk? Can we see them?
Realistically, I was at the store the other day, and it was about 5:06, and the sun wasn't completely set. So
Okay.
Somewhere around
Probably
there.
not.
Yeah.
Okay.
If I remember correctly, the finals I've been to here recently, you're definitely in golden hour, but it's not
Dark. Okay.
dark. Yeah, not getting dark.
But this all depends though. Are they live on Sunday? Because if they're not live on Sunday, if we get a few delays, it can go farther into the night a little bit. Because last year they were supposed to end at 4, but it ended around 4:45 because of all the delays last year. Because it was a crazy race. So if they're not live on TV on Sunday, we could see some night finals or close to night, twilight time at least, twilight finals, at least.
I think that this particular event is so the finals are supposed to go off from 4 o'clock to 7 o'clock Eastern time. So that would be
1 to 4
3
Pacific.
hours away. So 1 to 4 your time.
Pacific, yeah.
And then they also have a post-race show a half hour right after it, just to give them a little bit of a buffer.
Okay.
In case it does run long, but it is on FS1, so if it runs long, it runs long. Why not?
Yeah, NASCAR's over.
It
Ain't
should
nothing
be
else.
over by 4:30 your time. Yes.
Yeah. If it's 4:30, it'll be about twilight time. We'll see some header flames at 4:30. Yeah.
I did not realize that. So you're saying the finals are on FS1?
FS1, yes.
Well, that needs to be worked out in the future. It needs to be on Fox.
I agree.
Need to figure that out.
And actually, the finals. So you don't see anything until Sunday. 2 p.m. Eastern starts the qualifying show, which is 2 hours long, and it leads right into the finals at 4 o'clock, which leads right into the post-race show. So they do have looks like a 5.5 hour window on FS1 to cover qualifying and eliminations all in one shot on Sunday afternoon.
Well, I know this much. Where it says post-race show, it needs to say inside the NHRA and not anything on FS1.
There you go.
I like that one. That was good. That was good. And not who will be watching. All you guys watching better be watching on Sunday night. I'm going to say that right now because emails have been sent out. I've tried to get the actual champions on the show. So I don't know if I'm going to get them, but I've tried. So emails have been sent out, and hopefully we'll get at least 1 or 2 champions on Inside the NHRA.
We can go wrangle. We trip somebody up.
Okay,
Yeah.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it.
You're going to be on property. I mean, you go out there and grab them.
Yeah, just grab
I'll
them.
be on my laptop though, so
Maybe I can go mobile with my mobile phone and
just don't rip out your headphones again, rookie. Just don't do that again.
That was a rookie move. I completely agree. Completely agree.
I'm joking. Any final thoughts, guys, before we get out of here? Any final thoughts?
Well, yes, Stan, all racing is on NHRA.tv, but not everybody purchases it. And people do watch the national broadcast.
I am not one of them. I will watch on NHRA TV all day long. I will know what happens probably before they do it on TV. Definitely for qualifying. I think it's a shame that they don't even have qualifying shows on Saturday anymore. But you got to wait till Sunday.
I love qualifying shows. I love them. And those are good. I mean, I honestly remember watching just as much, if not more, qualifying than I did the race.
Yeah. Well, you used to be able to see more of the cars, but I think that if you're going to give them a 5-hour window on Sunday, let's just go live and run the whole deal.
Why not?
Show them all.
Why not? Oh, also to everybody, Sunday morning. So be on the lookout for some cool graphics like last year on Inside the NHRA. But Sunday morning, we'll also be doing an NHRA Today, 8 o'clock Sunday morning to kind of get you guys, a little geared up for all the action. So tune in on Competition Plus, Monday Morning Racer, Inside the American Horror Entertainment, all that stuff. So look out. We're bringing you all the action here this weekend. Wall-to-wall coverage. Wall-to-wall coverage.
Depending on how things go, maybe some mobile pit reporting.
There you go.
Let's do it. 8 a.m. Sunday morning.
So
bright and early.
And some of the final thoughts too, like I've seen kind of pop up in the comments, some big announcements recently today. Virginia Motorsports Park back on the NHRA schedule. Doing one of the TV games for next year. which I was kind of curious because it said one of them was going to have pro mod, the full complement, and the other to be determined date's going to have the alcohol cards on it. So I'm curious to see where that one ends up at.
So, the TBDs, people were rumoring possibly up there in Canada. That would be cool, but at this point now, the other one we can fully expect, I imagine, like 99.9% that it's Flying H is that national event. They just haven't solidified it. Granted, the NHRA might pull something and just expand the schedule, and it goes from the now 21 to 22. They have the right to do that, and they could do that. And we still get an interesting announcement for that other TBD. The issue with...
They didn't have them on the schedule already. They don't have Flying J on there already?
No, it is not it's not set there as a national event. Nope.
Oh, I see. Got it.
Yep.
Okay, so that is or the potential other. Are they just waiting to see if they get the track built in time?
Well, what we do have, though, it's interesting. They have not solidified it in the schedule for the national event, but they are solidified on the divisional regional side.
Oh, okay.
When you look at that event calendar and how it is split up. So, yeah, interesting that they went ahead and said, yeah, you've got your races here, but not on the national event side, though it was clearly announced they will host a national event. So some interesting things going on there. I wonder what is being jockeyed in Glendora or in Indy on that with Flying H. With Virginia Motorsports Park, it is good to hear the announcement. Virginia Motorsports Park may very well have the greatest track surface in the world. It's very possible. And that does not come from me just as a media person, but it comes from one of the specialists in drag racing when it comes to suspension, precision racing suspension. His name tells me now, but he literally said, you're walking on the best surface on the planet. So Tommy Franklin and company have a spectacular facility just of the surface alone. It also is a great track for the fans, and it's in a prime market, I think, as well for NHRA drag racing. But I definitely want to get a hold of Tommy and chat with him because, 2 years ago, it looked like NHRA national event drag racing would never return to that place because it just wasn't a favorable deal for Virginia Motorsports Park and the Franklins. So I wonder what deal was worked out with the NHRA. I cannot imagine it's the same deal.
Well, you know what happened, right? You won that PDRA championship, a lot of money started rolling through. He's like, yeah, we can hold a national event now. Got that championship money rolling through. I'm joking. I mean, but I mean, you say Virginia Motorsports Park has the best racing surface on the planet. I mean, well, put that thing in the countdown then during the cool conditions. Let's see that thing rip.
Man, why not? That'd be cool.
Why in the middle of the summer? Put that thing in the fall.
We did. Where you been? We did that.
I know, but again now, like I know, like 09 and all that stuff, but now put it back in the fall. Let's see that thing rip.
You go all the way back to 07.
I know, but I'm saying let's do it now.
3.77 in the 1,000 foot and heights 4 flat were there too.
That's what I'm saying. Let's put it back in the fall. See these guys rip again. Why I got to put in the middle of June? Hot and muggy. Ugh.
Yeah, it is. It's going to be warm. It's going to be warm.
Well, because it started in June. That's where the date was. Plus, I think the fall. I mean, they just wrapped up having the wasn't that where the PDRA finals was at?
You would have a conflict. Yes, you would have a conflict.
So they if you're going to take advantage of the cold weather, you're going to do it with your own series, not with NHRA.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Plus, it's close to Reading too, so not that far away. Same kind of, not that far from Reading.
Not far from Reading, not far from Charlotte.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah, 3 countdown races are pretty close in that area.
Yeah.
Right, it would be in that scenario. Granted, Virginia Motorsports Park would be a great track. Again, to me, it's not about the surface. It's not about the schedule. It's just it being announced. What transpired for it to be a favorable deal for Tommy Franklin to say yes. And I want to know what that is because the NHRA was willing to negotiate, which is shocking. But good.
It's always a good sign.
Mm-hmm. Lee, what time we be at the racetrack tomorrow?
I need to get there early.
Gotcha. I'll see you there. I'll be there around. I got to work in the morning, so I'll be there around maybe 10 or 11, a few hours before.
Okay, cool.
Before restaurant kicks off. So
cool.
yeah, I'll be there.
Well, I still need to get to the motel because I'm in the Salinas Valley in Pablos Relos or wherever I'm at a Starbucks, and they're probably already tired of me yapping away in the middle of the Starbucks at this common table. And using
well, that's okay. You're about 3 hours away, so you'll be there by 9:30. Be at your hotel.
Yes.
Good shower and sleep, but
that actually would be early for me.
Yeah.
And still go work out. I still need to go to the gym. So
can't skip leg day.
Can't skip leg day. Not skip leg day.
Especially for all the walking you're going to be doing this weekend if you cover any alcohol cars.
And there's an entire weight loss program around covering alcohol at national events. And I can tell you, at Pomona, you definitely get your footwork in.
I'll tell you what. And now that we're technically media, Lee, that parking lot of Pomona, the walk to get inside the actual facility, it is a walk. And so now that we're media, like how the biggest is to pull up, but that walk for regular fans, it's brutal at Pomona. It's bad. It's bad.
It's still bad even when you pay the $30 to do pit side parking. Mm-hmm. I love how they distinguish that. You don't really get near the pits. But the regular parking?
Yeah. Oh, you're far. Yeah.
Wow.
And there's only one way in and one way out too. So when the race is over, it's a long time to get out of here. It's a hassle. And
I feel like I have walked farther at other national events, but it feels like I walk farther at Pomona. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because you're walking on asphalt the whole way or what, but it just feels like you are walking forever at that facility.
You guys are spoiled, man. You guys are spoiled.
It's a walk.
Come to a race at Route 66.
Okay, hang on a minute. I have not been to Route 66. I have not. But have you been to Topeka?
I've never been to Topeka. I've been to Pomona, so I know what you're talking about because I sat in traffic. I'm like, damn, we're going to miss first round. We're sitting in traffic because, like you said, one way in, one way out, all the way to shutdown area. Coming through the gate, they're singing the anthem. I'm like, oh, just made it. Have not been to Topeka, but at Route 66, they have since opened. You can buy parking passes on the pit side, but usually by the time you get there, because the lot fills up fast, you are parking roughly on the sand trap side of the north side of the track, and you have to walk from there. By the time you get to the base of the horseshoe is where the entry gate is, and then you have to walk all the way around behind the tower, and then you can come in through the pits and then sit at your stage over there. So Route 66, you're walking from the sand trap, you're covering the whole thing before you even get to the pits. There is no tunnel, there's no bridge, there's no nothing. You start on that side of the track wherever you're parked, usually at the finish line somewhere in the shutdown area. Like I say, the entry gates are in line roughly about with the end of the horseshoe, so that's a little bit around half track. And then you have to walk all the way clear around the staging lanes to get into the pit side.
Wow.
Yeah. And then if you're covering the sportsman people, basically when you park at the sand trap, you can look across the track and you're like, oh, hey, there's all the sportsman guys. Now I got to walk 2 miles to get around there because there's no straight route across.
So they need like a Phoenix style bridge in the shutdown, that type of scenario.
If you were trying to get across to the pit side of things, yeah, that would be best. But or like I say, they finally started to where they have a parking lot that is on just beyond the pit side that used to be only for media, credentialed people. If you had hospitality passes, you would park there. They have opened a little bit of it up more towards the general spectators, I believe, for an additional fee. But it's very limited and it sells out fast. But that's the only way you can really park. Even when I went this year and we had media parking passes, we were still about 6 rows in, even on that side. But at least you could walk across and into the pit area. So, and there are only certain gates that are open too. So if you're in the middle of the pits, you still got to walk all the way down to get in through the security, or all the way the other, like, because the staging lanes, the road to the staging lanes is between the parking lot and the pits. So they don't let you just cross wherever you want to cross. very, very restrictive, and you do a lot of walking.
I feel like one of the best tracks, parking wise, that there was, and it is Atlanta Dragway. It was one of the best walking because the parking was on the pit side, and it was slightly downhill. And if you got there early enough, man, that first row, you didn't need to buy any better premium parking, and it was all free. It was a pretty good scenario at Atlanta.
Denver too. Denver was amazing. Like you park and as soon as you walk out, get out your car and walk up that little ramp, you're basically in the pits. Like Denver was great. Now getting onto other sides, that was a different problem. But just from going from the parking lot to the pits, the pro pits, oh, it was easy. You just got to worry about running out of breath when you walk up the stairs. That's it. In that thin air. But other than that, Denver was
Bristol
really good.
was great because no matter where you parked, a tram picked you up and drove you up the hill to the gate to get you in because everything's so dang far away. You don't want to make that walk. And everybody's like, just wait for the tram. Don't try and walk it. Don't be a hero.
Hey, Doug, man, I really do appreciate it. Putting them on the spot. Lee will have your birthday present with them. Thank you, man. I appreciate it, Doug.
Darren got his birthday present like 3 weeks ago.
We were in Vegas, man. We were in Vegas. Don't say too much. Don't say too much.
You get him an In-N-Out burger? That's very kind of you.
I bought his lunch for like a whole week.
Oh, wow.
No. Lee got love for brothers, you know? I don't know why. He's got love for brothers, so I appreciate that, you know?
One last little bit of thing, and Darren had mentioned, well, he knows about it. You could look for an upcoming website to be released that is basically the racing reference of drag racing.
Yeah, so Dave W. has been working hard on this for the past, 7 years or so. You know, you have racing reference for NASCAR, IndyCar, other motorsports. Well, Dave W. has put together an awesome deal. It'll be called Drag Racing Reference, right, Dave?
DragRaceReference.com.
Very cool.
It should be dropping soon. So he's been working really hard on this, guy. So make sure when it drops to go on there and have fun with it because he's been working on it hard, put a lot of hours into it, put a lot of hard work, and so
that's great.
See that pay off. Yeah,
that's great. That is good news. We definitely need that in drag racing. It has, you have been doing a diligent job on keeping stats, and that's what you had to do. It's all locked into the mind of like 2 to 3 people that have all these stats, and it's very sad, and it makes it very challenging to go find good material and to connect dots because we keep records to tell the story as the sport continues to go on down the road.
Well, and the hard part for me is I never understood what the purpose of why are you hiding it? Why you keep it away from anybody? I could go on and tell you who finished 12th in a NASCAR race that happened in 1948 with 2 clicks.
Right.
You don't know any, and if you want to find NHRA stuff, you got to look at Drag Race Central. You got to go to NHRA.com, but then it goes back to 2015. If you try to find anything you can use the Internet Wayback Machine to find some of the late 90s, mid 90s stuff if you know where you're looking. And then beyond that, good luck. But compiling stuff from just an endless display of national dragsters from the NHRA websites, from Drag Race Central, from Bill Pratt's Drag List has had some information. This is a couple of screenshots that what you can expect. Like if you go to the Top Fuel page, kind of broke down just like Racing Reference would be. These eventually will all have hyperlinks. You can click on a year, say Pro Stock, you're on the Pro Stock page, you click 1992. Well, here's the schedule. Here's the events. Here's who won. Here's where they qualified, where they drive, and who's number 1 qualifier, low ET, top speed, how many people showed up. That kind of stuff is not out there anywhere. Another example, you go to the actual event page. Here's the qualifying breakdown. Somebody's names on the list, the D&Q names that are on these lists, people don't know, like Stefan Byrne. I'm like, who the heck is that guy? I mean, you haven't heard of that guy in 40 years, but he's on there, and eventually as it's all put together, you'll be able to click on each driver's hyperlink and bring up all of their stuff solely. And then also, as you scroll through, there'll be an eliminations area where you can go and see one loss, lapse time, reaction time. Some of it's complete, some of it's not. Some of it's completed to the best of my ability and what I've been able to find. And that is going to be the hardest part. It's not 100% complete because, I mean, it is all the way back up to probably 1982, 1981, and a lot of 70s and 60s stuff, but there's still a lot of stuff, number one qualifiers, low ET, and top speeds that have not been able to be found. I just haven't found the right national dragster. And there's some information that's just not out there. I didn't realize some of the early national dragsters, when everything was just in a text form, they never even told you, they would tell you who the first, second, third alternate was, but there could be 70 some pro stock cars there and you didn't know but 15 of them or 18 of them that were there. So it'll be a little bit more challenging for the older stuff. It's going to release in segments because I'm still trying to figure out how to hyperlink everything to each other. So once you click on that year, you get all the information, and each individual event obviously is going to be a ton of information. But once finally complete, I'm hoping that it's something that everybody enjoys, can use, can reference stuff with, and that's the point of doing it. Like I say, there's no sense in doing all this and then keeping it all to yourself, because people out there, I feel like, want to know this information or want to be able to find it. And the reason I started doing it was because I figured, you know what, I'm not going to ask a question that I can't answer myself, and if I can't find it, what do I got to do to look at it? And then I'm just like, wait a minute, if I want to know that answer, there's got to be some easier way than just digging through archives of national dragsters, so I started putting it all together, started compiling it, started entering it, and to be able to put it in a format that's easily searchable and clickable. I hope it's something that people appreciate and enjoy going through. And as of now, my goal is to have covered top fuel, funny car, pro stock motorcycle, pro stock truck, pro modified, top alcohol dragster, top alcohol funny car. I don't have all the rest of the sportsman index categories, but all of the main heads up categories, you should be able to find information for all their events. And that's my goal. I'm also working on and have been working on IHRA stuff, so hopefully that'll be on there. I hope it takes off and people have enough interest in it that maybe even other sanctions, like Funny Car Chaos is like, hey, here's my results, put that on there. So if you want to search, who won the Funny Car Chaos Championship 3 years ago, I don't know, where do you find it? You might be able to Google it, but it sure would be nice to have it all in one spot, like Racing Reference does for all the oval track stuff. So that is my goal. That is what I've been diligently working on, and I hope to release it at least in some form very soon.
Awesome.
Good work, Dave. Good work. I mean, honestly, good work does not fully describe it. It has been needed for drag racing, and I think that will certainly help people tell the tale of drag racing. That's been a key component missing from storytellers of drag racing. You've got to contact one or two or three people to, hey, I need to get the information for this person, this block of races over these years. And to answer your question, more than likely, you can probably work something out with Funny Car Chaos and you get those stats, but those stats can actually be found on the Funny Car Chaos website. There are results for every race.
Okay.
Yep.
I guess I've never specifically Google searched for it. I don't know how easy it is or hard it is to find them, but I guess that was kind of my point, was just, I know that the stuff is probably out there and it's out there in various forms. I'm just trying to bring it all together so you go to one place and boom, there it is.
I like it.
Awesome. Well, thank you guys all for tuning in to episode 150, landmark episode here of Between the Slicks, streaming live on the Monday Morning Racer YouTube, Facebook, Competition Plus, YouTube, Facebook, and Drag Racing Connection. If you haven't already, make sure to hit that like button, hit that share button, let everybody know this is a preview of an epic race that is going to go off this weekend, the In-N-Out Burger World Finals from iconic In-N-Out Burger Pomona Drag Strip. I'm Darren Williams, along with Dave W. and Lee Craft, the Monday Morning Racer. We'll see you guys with more wall-to-wall coverage this weekend. Good night, everybody.
Before you hit anything, I want to say thank you to Taylor Motorsports. They will be bringing you the top alcohol reports this weekend on the Monday Morning Racer platform. So if you would, find that Taylor Motorsports commercial and send us off with it, Mr. Williams.
I got you right here, man. Came right up. Good night, everybody.
Taylor Motorsports Products is your first stop for quality safety equipment for your car or your driver. All of our safety equipment products are made in our facility in Albany, Oregon. From custom fit fire suits to racing seat belts, supercharger restraints, engine diapers, transmission blankets, and many other must-have items. Our racing history runs deep. We are racers building the finest safety equipment for racers. And we're a proud supporter of the chaos.